Every morning, millions of people wake up to an alarm clock. They check the time, move through a familiar routine, and head to work. For us, this feels normal. It feels like the way life has always been. But for most of human history, daily life didn't run on schedules. Work followed daylight and seasons. Time was something people experienced, not something that managed them. Then, in a relatively short span of time, that changed. Work became organized. Time became measured. Life reshaped itself around machines, systems, and efficiency. This wasn't just an era of invention. It was the moment the modern world took shape. Here are the 10 moments during the Industrial Revolution that transformed how people worked, lived, and experienced daily life, and quietly shaped the modern world. Number 10. Agricultural efficiency frees labor. For most of human history, farming demanded nearly everyone's time. If you didn't work the land, you didn't eat. But in the early 1700s, agriculture quietly changed. New tools, crop rotation, and selective breeding allowed fewer farmers to produce more food than ever before. Yields increased. Surpluses grew. And for the first time, large numbers of people were no longer needed in the fields. That freedom didn't mean leisure. It meant movement. Former farm laborers flooded towns and cities, looking for work. They didn't yet know it, but the conditions were being set for factories, wage labor, and industrial life. The Industrial Revolution didn't begin with machines. It began when agriculture made human labor available and replaceable. Number 9. Textile machines replace labor. For centuries, textile work was slow, skilled, and deeply human. Spinning and weaving were trades learned over years, often done at home or in small workshops. That changed in the late 1700s. Machines like the spinning jenny, water frame, and power loom could produce thread and cloth faster than any skilled worker. One machine could now replace dozens of people. Skill mattered less. Speed mattered more. This wasn't just an improvement in production. It was a warning. If a machine could replace a weaver, it could replace anyone. For the first time, human labor was no longer the most valuable part of work. Number 8. Time becomes standardized. Before factories, time was flexible. Work followed daylight, seasons, and local needs. Factories changed that. Machines needed to run continuously, and workers needed to arrive on time. Clocks moved from church towers into workplaces. Shifts replaced sunlight. Minutes and hours suddenly mattered. Time stopped being something people lived within. It became something they answered to. Being late now had consequences, and daily life began moving to the rhythm of machines, not nature. This was the beginning of the modern schedule and the end of flexible time. Number 7. Rapid urbanization begins. As factories expanded, people followed. Former farmers and craftsmen flooded into towns and cities, searching for work. Small communities turned into crowded industrial centers almost overnight. Housing couldn't keep up. Sanitation collapsed. Disease spread quickly. Cities grew faster than they could be managed. But despite the conditions, people stayed. Factory wages, however harsh, were now essential for survival. Modern cities weren't carefully planned. They were built out of necessity, and they were here to stay. Number 6. Child labor becomes common. As factories expanded, entire families became dependent on wages. That included children. In industrial towns, children worked long hours in mills, mines, and workshops. They were smaller, cheaper to employ, and easier to control. For many families, child labor wasn't a choice. It was survival. education took a backseat to productivity. Childhood became shorter, and work, not age, determined a person's value. This wasn't a temporary phase. It revealed how deeply industrial systems could override human priorities. Number 5. Steam power breaks natural limits. Before steam power, work depended on muscle, wind, or water. Production stopped when energy ran out. Steam changed that. Coal-powered engines could run day and night, wherever fuel was available. Factories were no longer tied to rivers or seasons. Scale exploded. For the first time, human effort was no longer the limiting factor. Machines dictated pace, output, and growth. This shift unlocked industrial expansion and removed the natural brakes that once kept it in check. Number 4. Mass production changes consumption. As machines increased output, goods became faster and cheaper to produce. For the first time, identical products flooded the market. People stopped making what they needed. They started buying it. Clothing, tools, and household items became standardized. Choice expanded. Craft declined. Consumption became routine. And the relationship between people and objects quietly changed. This was the beginning of modern consumer culture, where production didn't just meet demand, it created it. Number 3. The modern working class emerges. As factory work expanded, a permanent working class began to take shape. People no longer worked for themselves or their communities. They worked for wages. Employment became long-term. Income became dependent on someone else's business. This created a clear divide between owners and workers. Control over time, pay, and conditions shifted upward. For the first time, large groups of people shared the same routines, the same risks, and the same lack of control. Work was no longer a task. It was a position within a system. Number 2. Permanent environmental damage. Industrial growth left marks that could not be undone. Coal smoke darkened cities. Rivers carried waste. Air and water became shared casualties of progress. For the first time, economic growth consistently harmed the environment. These effects were not temporary. They accumulated. Entire regions were reshaped by pollution. Health declined. Life expectancy dropped in industrial centers. The costs of progress were no longer local or short-lived. They were widespread, and they lingered. Number 1. Human life becomes systemized. By the mid-1800s, the transformation was complete. Work followed schedules. Cities ran on routines. Time was measured. Productivity was tracked. Daily life revolved around systems rather than individuals. Machines set the pace. Institutions enforced it. Most people no longer shaped their work around life. They shaped their lives around work. This was not just an economic shift. It was a human one. Once life became systemized, there was no return to the world that came before. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change how things were made. It changed how people lived, how they worked, how they measured time, and how their lives fit inside larger systems. Many of the routines that feel normal today were shaped during this period, not by choice, but by necessity. Understanding how this world took form helps explain why it still works the way it does, and why stepping outside it has never been easy. If you found this breakdown useful, consider subscribing for more videos like this. Each episode looks at the moments that quietly shape the world we live in. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.